So there are guidelines, all India guidelines that the top court of the country had issued as far as the protesters are concerned. What are those guidelines, and did the Delhi police abide by these guidelines in the recent protest?
As of now, there are no all India guidelines, so to say, of how protesters are to be dealt with. But as far as Delhi is concerned, there is a SOP for dealing with protesters, and that SOP has been completely violated in this case as far as the protest of the Cockroach Janata Party is concerned in this month. The guidelines have sufficient safeguards to ensure that no, victimization of a protester happens. According to me, the guidelines which should be in place should be on several counts. One, a protest which is happening to make a claim which is not per se illegal or which is not anti-national should be permitted. So no, it's no question of stopping a protest if people want to assemble to make a protest. That is the very first thing. In this case, like the permission was not granted, and because it was not granted, 163 was imposed. Although we have not seen any 163 notification till date, but apparently police says that there was a 163 in place. Now, as per the SOP guidelines for Delhi, when a 163 is imposed, that means permission is not granted to go ahead with the protest. Then the police has to start firstly notifying the 163 notification on a placard, which should be seen from a distance. Magnified placard, which should be carried by the policeman, which can be seen. So it's something like a flag which has to be carried in hand in the protest area, showing that there is a 163 in place. There has to be loudspeakers continuously telling the protesters that the 163 is in place and you are not permitted to assemble. And thirdly, most important, there have to be sufficient videos present at the site to continuously monitor the activities of the police as well as activities of the protesters. In this case, and this is something which I witnessed firsthand, every protester was being frisked while going into the protest site. So obviously every protester was unarmed. Probably they were just carrying some book. There were some carried the constitution, some carried a small book. So the idea was to show that we are completely peaceful, and it is only after frisking they were allowed to go inside. So if the protesters are unarmed, videography is happening on both sides, and if the protesters have still to be dispersed, then the SOP says that the minimum force is to be used. And when they say minimum force, it has to be just lathi charge, that too around the legs, and that is also provided in the BNS, the new BNS under section 149. So all these protocols should be made now all India. And whenever a protest is happening, the Supreme Court should say that this is the protocol that has to be followed. And in this age of technology, getting proper high resolution images by a videography of what exactly is happening in that place is not difficult at all. I can understand 10-15 years back, having to do this kind of a videography may not have been very successful. But at the protest sites, you can have, if supposing there is a Jantar Mantar which is the place where you have decided to have the assembly, and the people want to go from Jantar Mantar to the Parliament Street or to the Parliament, the entire area and the route can have sufficient CCTV cameras installed overnight to watch each and every movement of the protester and of the police. If by chance any miscreant gets in amongst the protesters, then he can easily be identified and singled out. But because of his action, the rest of the protesters should not be made to suffer. So I think these are very, very important guidelines which should be made on a pan-India basis, so that whenever there is a peaceful protest, and the way things are, we are in a country where there is no opposition today. We have one ruling party, so it is my way or highway for them. If the youth feel that the ruling party is not responsive to their demands or to their legitimate concerns, obviously they will come to the streets. And today there are two very important issues which is facing the youth. One is of unemployment. At the time of election, giving some money to the housewife gets you the votes from the family. But that only is for the election day. After that, for the next 5 years, the children have to get employment, which is not happening. So that is a huge frustration in the youth of this country. And the second and very important is the failure of our public exams. the credibility of our public exams, exams after exam, exam after exam, there is question paper leak, or there is cheating, or there is mass copying, or various unfair means are being used, completely eroding the credibility of the exam. So just imagine a poor boy or girl who, uses all the hard-earned money of the family. Sometimes they sell their land, sometimes they sell their jewelry to educate the children to get into an engineering or a medical college. And after studying so hard, he doesn't get selected, and he comes to know that he could have been selected if the exam had been fair. Just see the frustration of that youth of this country. So that's the problem which the country is facing. And the Cockroach Janata Party has shown that there is now a very robust organization which is all on the basis of the social media, which can be activated at very short notice. And that is why these safeguards need to be put in place for any future protest or demands made by the youth.